My phone rings at 2 in the morning. My mom's voice cuts through the dark like a blade tomorrow. Your brother's fiancé's family is coming for dinner. You can come, but keep your mouth shut. I sit up. Why? Her dad's a federal judge. Don't embarrass us like you always do. I smile into the dark. Got it. That night during the toast, the judge stops right in front of me, and what he says next makes the entire table go dead silent. My name is Amelia Townsend. I'm 34. And this is the story of the night my family's carefully built house of lies came crashing down at a dinner table. All because one man asked a simple question. If you're watching this, please subscribe and let me know where you are watching from. But first, let me tell you what it's like to grow up as the wrong kind of daughter. I grew up in Ridgemont, Virginia, one of those small towns where everybody knows your name, your grades, and what your mama said about you at the grocery store last Tuesday. And what my mama says about May's never much. Patricia Townsend has 2 children, but if you listen to her talk, you'd think she only has one. Bradley. Bradley who's so charming. Bradley who's so good with people. Bradley who lights up every room he walks into. Me, I'm the one who always has to argue. I'm 7 years old the first time I noticed the mantle. 5 framed photos of Bradley, Little League, school portrait, family vacation, church choir, birthday party. 1 photo of me tucked behind a vase where you'd have to move the flowers to see it. I'm 17 when I graduate second in my class. Patricia doesn't come. Bradley has a baseball game. He sits on the bench the entire time. He's a backup outfielder, but my mother is in the bleachers cheering for a boy who never leaves the dugout while I walk across a stage alone. I win a full scholarship to undergrad, then a full ride to law school. I pay off my student loans myself. I never ask my family for $1, and Patricia tells the neighbors I dropped out and moved away. She doesn't say where I moved. She doesn't say why. She just lets the silence do its work. And in a small town, silence is its own kind of story. But I still call every Sunday, still send birthday cards, still drive 2 hours from D.C. for Thanksgiving, only to hear Patricia redirect every conversation back to Bradley before I finish a sentence. I keep showing up. I keep hopping until a phone rings at 2 in the morning. Let me tell you about Bradley. My brother is 29, 5 years younger than me, and he has the kind of easy smile that makes people trust him before he says a word. He sells cars at a dealership outside Richmond. Not luxury cars, regular sedans. He's a sales associate. Decent at it, not spectacular. But if you ask Patricia, Bradley is a regional sales director. Bradley is being considered for a major promotion. Bradley just closed a huge deal. None of it is true, but Patricia says it with such conviction that even Bradley starts to believe it. Last Thanksgiving, I drive 2 hours to sit at the family table. Patricia pulls me aside before dinner. Don't talk about work tonight. Bradley's going through a tough stretch. I agree. I keep quiet. And for the next 3 hours, Bradley talks about his big deals while nobody asks me a single question. Not one. I wash the dishes afterward alone. Patricia has an Instagram account. She posts photos of Bradley with captions like, "So proud of my son's career milestones, and this boy is going places." I scroll through the entire feed one night. 2 years of posts. My name appears 0 times, not once. I put my phone down and stare at the ceiling of my apartment in D.C. The apartment I pay for with the career she pretends doesn't exist. I don't need her to brag about me. I don't need a caption or a hashtag. I just need her to stop erasing me. But Patricia doesn't erase me because she hates me. That would almost be simpler. She erases me because my existence complicates the story she's telling. And she loves that story more than she loves the truth. I've been a litigation attorney at Whitfield and Keene for 8 years. Federal cases, employment discrimination, civil rights, the kind of work where you stand in a courtroom and argue for people who have been told they don't matter, and you make the record say otherwise. 5 months ago, I argue a case in the Eastern District of Virginia. The judge is Richard Calloway, silver-haired, sharpied, known for running an efficient courtroom and having 0 patience for unprepared counsel. It's a civil rights case complex. The opposing side has a partner from a firm 3 times our size. I'm lead counsel. I'm terrified, but I prepare. I prepare until my notes have notes and my notes have color-coded tabs. And when I stand up to deliver oral argument, something clicks. The words come clean and precise, and I watch Judge Calloway lean forward, not because he agrees with me, but because he's listening. We win. Afterward, in the hallway, Calloway stops me. "Counselor Townsend," he says. "That was one of the most precise oral arguments I've heard this year." He shakes my hand. Then he walks away, and I stand in that marble hallway trying not to cry. I don't tell Patricia. There's no point. The last time I mention work on the phone, she cuts me off mid-sentence. "Nobody really wants to hear about lost stuff, Amelia." Then she spends 40 minutes telling me Bradley got a compliment from a customer. So I keep the win to myself. I keep the judge's handshake to myself. I keep all of it in a quiet place where it's safe. I have no idea that the judge who shook my hand is the father of the woman my brother is about to marry. The call comes on a Thursday, 2:00 in the morning. I'm in bed, lights off, alarm set for 6:00 because I have a deposition at 9:00. My phone glows on the nightstand. Mom. My heart does what it always does, jumps because a call at 2 in the morning from your mother means someone's dead or someone's in the hospital. I grab the phone. "Mom, what's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong." Her voice is clipped, businesslike. "Tomorrow evening, Bradley's fiancé's family is coming for dinner at the house. You should be there." I exhale. "Nobody's dead." "Okay, I'll drive down after work." "Good, but Amelia." She pauses. "Keep your mouth shut. Excuse me. Her father is a federal judge. He's important. Don't embarrass us the way you always do." I sit in the dark, phone pressed to my ear, and I feel that old familiar weight settle on my chest. "I hear you." I say I'll be there. "One more thing. If anyone asks what you do, tell them you work in an office. Don't mention law. Don't mention the firm. Just keep it simple." I'm quiet for a long time. "Why?" "Because this isn't about you, Amelia. This is Bradley's night. Can you not make everything about yourself for once?" I close my eyes. I could argue. I could ask why my own career needs to be hidden at my own family's dinner table, but it's 2:00 in the morning and I've been having this argument for 34 years. "Fine," I say. I hang up, stare at the ceiling, and for the first time in my life, I start to wonder what exactly is my mother hiding. Friday afternoon, I leave the office at 4, change out of my courtroom suit, and get on I-66 heading west. 2 hours to Ridgemont. I've made this drive 100 times. Past the strip malls, past the horse farms, past the exit where I always think about turning around and never do. The radio's off. I'm thinking about Mother's Day 3 years ago when I sent flowers and a handwritten card and Patricia called to say, "Bradley brought me breakfast in bed. Isn't that sweet?" No mention of the flowers. I found them in the trash 2 weeks later when I visited. I'm thinking about the time I paid for her roof repair after the storm. Wrote the check, hired the contractor, made sure it was done right. When the neighbors asked, Patricia told them a friend helped out. Not her daughter, a friend. I'm thinking about 6 months ago, the night I won the biggest case of my career. I called homebursting. Patricia listened for maybe 15 seconds. "That's nice, honey. Oh, Bradley just got a compliment from a big client. He's really moving up." I grip the steering wheel tighter. I pull into a gas station outside Culpeper. Fill the tank. Check my reflection in the window. I've chosen carefully tonight. Navy silk blouse, tailored slacks, my good watch, professional but not flashy. And I noticed the blazer hanging behind my seat. I chose it this morning without thinking about why. But standing here now, I know I don't want to look like the person my mother told them I am. One quiet dinner. That's all this has to be, one dinner for Bradley. I get back on the road. The sun is dropping behind the Blue Ridge. I keep driving. I arrive an hour early. Patricia meets me at the door, hair freshly set, new pearl earrings. The kind of smile she wears when she's managing something. "Come in. We need to talk before they get here." She walks me through the house like a stage director blocking a scene. I sither. I don't sit next to the judge. I don't bring up DC unless asked, and if asked, I keep it vague. "If anyone asks what you do," she says, straightening a napkin, "you work in office administration. You do paperwork, nothing special." I stand in the dining room doorway. Mom, I'm a lawyer. Why do I have to lie? She turns on me fast. Because this is not your night, Amelia. This is Bradley's night. Can you for once in your life not make everything about yourself? I look past her. Dennis, my father, sits in his recliner in the living room, newspaper open, eyes carefully fixed on the sports section. He doesn't look up. He hasn't looked up in 34 years. The front door opens. Bradley walks in. Khaki pants, polo shirt, hair combed back. He sees me, smiles the way you smile at someone you're vaguely glad showed up. Hey sis, glad you could make it. He lowers his voice. Mom told you the rules, right? There it is. He knows. He's fine with it. I heard her, I say. Just for tonight, it's not a big deal. I look at me little brother, the boy I used to read bedtime stories to. The boy I drove to soccer practice when Patricia had migraines. He's asking me to erase myself for his comfort, and he doesn't even flinch. I won't lie if someone asks me directly, I say. Bradley shrugs. Nobody's going to ask. The dining room looks like a magazine spread. Patricia has outdone herself. Chandelier dimmed to a warm glow. White linen tablecloth, fresh flowers in a crystal vase, the good china that only comes out when she's performing. She's hired a caterer. I count the chairs. 8. The place cards are handwritten in Patricia's careful script. I find mine at the far end of the table, one seat from the corner, as far from center as you can get without sitting in the kitchen. Bradley's card is next to Nora's. Patricia's is directly across from where the judge will sit. The geometry of power arranged in calligraphy. Doorbell rings. Nora arrives first alone. She's driven ahead of her parents. She's 28, auburn hair, warm eyes, the kind of person who makes you feel noticed the second she looks at you. She sees me and extends her hand. You must be Amelia. Bradley's mentioned you. You live in D.C., right? What do you do there? My mouth opens. Patricia materializes at my elbow like she's been teleported. Oh, Amelia does administrative work. Nothing too exciting. She takes Nora's arms, steering her away. Now, sweetheart, let me see that ring. Bradley has such good taste. The ring is modest, a small diamond on a thin gold band. Patricia compliments it like it's the Hope diamond. Nora smiles, but as Patricia leads her toward the kitchen, she glances back at me. Just a glance, quick, but I catch it. It's the look of someone filing something away. I stand alone in the dining room. The chandelier hums above me. The flowers smell expensive, and I realize this entire evening has been designed. Every napkin, every seat, every scripted answer so that I disappear. 7:00 sharp. The doorbell rings and Patricia floats toward the entrance like she's been rehearsing the walk. Richard Calloway steps inside first. He's taller than I remember from the courtroom. Silver hair, square shoulders, the posture of a man accustomed to rooms going quiet when he enters. Behind him, Margaret Calloway, elegant, composed, with the kind of sharp, steady gaze that doesn't miss much. Patricia launches into her introductions. Richard, Margaret, welcome, this is my husband, Dennis. Dennis shakes hands, says almost nothing. And this Patricia beams pulling Bradley forward. Is my son Bradley, regional sales director. He's doing so well. We're so proud. Bradley extends his hand, smiles his easy smile. Richard shakes it, polite but measured. Then Patricia turns to me. A fraction of a pause, a shift in her voice, lighter, quicker, like she's reading a footnote. And this is Amelia, my daughter. She works in an office up in D.C. Richard takes my hand. His grip is firm, and then he stops. He holds the handshake one beat too long. His brow creases just slightly the way it does on the bench when a fact doesn't line up. Townsend, he says slowly. Amelia Townsend. My pulse spikes. I know that look. I've seen it across a courtroom. Patricia's laugh comes out bright and fast. Okay, everyone, let's sit. The food is almost ready. She hooks her arm through Richard's and guides him toward the table with the efficiency of someone redirecting traffic. But Richard looks back at me as he steered away. His eyes stay on mine for 3 full seconds. I sit down at my assigned corner, unfold my napkin, and for the next 20 minutes I feel his gaze return to me again and again. Dinner begins. Patricia commands the table like a conductor. Bradley closed 3 major deals this quarter, she says, passing the bread basket. His manager says he's never seen anyone with such natural talent for client relationships. Bradley nods along, grinning. He doesn't correct her. He never corrects her. Dennis chews quietly. I chew quietly. We're the audience members in Patricia's one-woman show, and we both know our roles. Richard listens. Margaret listens. They're polite, attentive even. But I notice Margaret's eyes tracking the room. She watches Patricia cut me off when I reach for the salad bowl. She watches Patricia redirect conversation away from me twice in 3 minutes. Amelia, be a dear and check on the oven for me. I get up, check the oven. Nothing needs checking. Amelia, could you grab the sparkling water from the fridge? I get up again, grab the water, sit back down. The third time, I open my mouth just to compliment the roasted potatoes. Patricia talks right over me. Richard, have you seen the photos from Bradley's company retreat? He organized the whole thing. Margaret sets down her fork softly, almost casually, she says. Patricia, I'd love to hear Amelia tell us about herself. The table goes quiet for a half-second. Patricia's smile doesn't waver, but her eyes do. Oh, Amelia's very private, she says, smooth as glass. She doesn't like talking about herself. Do you, sweetheart? Everyone looks at me. I feel the heat rise in my chest. I feel 34 years of swallowed words pressing against my teeth. And I look at my mother, her perfect lipstick, her rehearsed smile, her iron grip on every sentence in this room, and I say, I don't mind at all. Patricia's left hand tightens around her napkin. Nora leans across the table toward me, genuine curiosity on her face. So, Amelia, do you like living in D.C.? I've heard Georgetown is beautiful in Thefal. I relax a fraction. This is just conversation, normal human conversation. I love it. My office is close to the federal courthouse. So Patricia coughs loud, sharp. The kind of cough that isn't a cough. Amelia, would you grab more water from the kitchen? I think we're almost out. We are not almost out. The bottle I brought 10 minutes ago is still 3/4 full. Everyone can see it. I stop mid-sentence, stand up, walk to the kitchen. Patricia follows me in. The swinging door hasn't even stopped moving before she's in my face. Voice dropped to a whisper so tight it could cut glass. What are you doing? Nora asked me a question. I was answering. You said courthouse. I told you don't mention anything about courts, law, any of it. Mom, I said my office is near the courthouse. That's geography. I know you, Amelia. Her finger comes up an inch from my face. You always find a way to make everything about yourself. Don't you dare ruin this for your brother. I stand there holding the water pitcher she didn't need me to refill. Looking at the woman who gave birth to me, who is trembling, not with anger, but with something closer to terror. She's not furious that I almost said the wrong thing. She's terrified that her entire performance is one honest sentence away from collapsing. And for the first time standing in that kitchen, I don't feel hurt. I feel clear. I'll go sit down, I say quietly. She steps aside. I walk back to the table. The main course arrives. The caterer sets down plates of herb-crusted salmon. And Patricia narrates each dish like a cooking show host. But Richard Calloway isn't interested in the salmon. He's interested in me. Amelia, he says, cutting through Patricia's monologue about the caterer's credentials. How long have you been in D.C.? About 8 years. 8 years. He nods slowly. That's a long time. What part of the city? Patricia's fork freezes halfway to her mouth. Richard, would you like to see some photos of Bradley as a boy? He was the cutest little maybe later, Patricia. Richard doesn't look at her. His eyes stay on me. 8 years in D.C. doing administrative work. You must know the Federal Triangle area pretty well. It's not a casual question. Federal Triangle is where the federal courthouse sits. He's not making conversation. He's testing, and we both know it. I meet his eyes, a courtroom reflex. You don't look away from a judge. Yes, sir. I'm quite familiar with that area. He nods very slowly. Then he glances at Margaret. She returns the look. One of those married couple exchanges that carries an entire conversation in a single second. Margaret picks up her wine glass, sips, sets it down. She looks at Patricia, then at me, then back at Patricia. Something shifts behind her eyes. Not suspicion exactly, but the careful, systematic dismantling of an assumption under the table. My hands are steady, but my heart is pounding because I know what Richard Calloway knows. And I know he knows that I know. And the only person at this table who doesn't know what everyone else is circling around is the woman sitting at the head of it, smiling like she's in total control. Bradley leans back in his chair, wine glass in hand, warming to his audience. You know, Amelia was such a weird kid growing up. Always reading, always in her room, wouldn't play with anyone. Patricia laughs. The performative kind. Head tilted, hand to her chest. It's true. Amelia always thought she was smarter than everyone else. Thank goodness she settled down since then. I watch Nora's face. Her smile falters. She looks at me not with pity but with something sharper. Recognition. Margaret sets her fork down. The soft clink of silver on china is the only sound for a full second. Dennis stares at his plate. He's been staring at his plate all night. My father, the human wallpaper, I say nothing. My hands are folded in my lap. My jaw is tight enough to crack a walnut, but my face shows nothing. 8 years of courtroom training, of standing before hostile judges and opposing counsel who want you to flinch, have taught me exactly how to sit inside a silence that's designed to bury you. Richard watches all of it. He watches Patricia laugh at her own joke. He watches Bradley pile on. He watches Dennis disappear. And he watches me, still composed, completely alone at a table full of family. Then he reaches for his glass, taps it with his knife. One clean ring. I'd like to say a few words, he announces. Patricia's face lights up. This is the part she's been waiting for. The distinguished federal judge toasting her golden son, validating every lie she's told. Of course, she says, clasping her hands together. We'd love that. Richard stands, buttons his jacket, and begins to walk slowly around the table, heading straight toward me. Right now, I'm sitting at that table, jaw clenched, listening to my own mother tell a federal judge that I'm nothing special. And the worst part, she doesn't know what's about to happen. But before I idle you, if this story is hitting close to home, if you've ever sat at a table where your own family made you feel invisible, drop a comment right now. Tell me, what would you have done? And hit that subscribe button because what happens next? You're going to want to hear every single word of it. Richard holds his glass and speaks with the unhurried precision of a man who measures every word for a living. First, to Nora, my daughter, you've always had a remarkable ability to see people clearly, even when they'd prefer not to be seen. That's a gift, and it'll serve you well. Nora smiles. Margaret squeezes her hand into Bradley. Richard turns to him. Welcome. I believe in second impressions. This dinner was meant to be ours. Bradley nods, looking pleased. Patricia's smile is radiant. The smile of a woman whose plan is executing perfectly. She reaches under the table and squeezes Dennis's hand. He barely responds. Richard talks about family, about honesty, about the foundation of trust. The foundation of any family, he says, is honesty. Without it, everything is built on sand. I've spent 30 years on the bench, and if there's one thing I've learned, it's that the truth has a way of finding daylight, no matter how carefully someone tries to keep it in the dark. Patricia nods along, oblivious. I stare at my water glass. I'm counting the minutes. 20 more, maybe 25. Then I can excuse myself, drive back to D.C., and put 2 hours of highway between me and Thistable. I'm already planning my exit. The polite handshake, the quick hug for Bradley, the thank you for a lovely evening that means nothing. I'm almost home free. Then Richard pauses mid-stride. He's been walking slowly around the table as he speaks, an old courtroom habit approaching the jury box. And now he's stopped right next to my chair. He looks down at me. The room notices, one by one. Every head turns. I have to say, Richard says quietly, I'm surprised to see you here. 6 words and the air leaves the room. Patricia laughs. Too quickly, too brightly. Oh, Amelia is my daughter. Of course she'd be here. Richard doesn't look at Patricia. He's looking at me, only me. And his expression isn't surprise exactly. It's the look I've seen him wear on the bench when a witness's testimony doesn't match the evidence. That patient, measured look that says, I'm going to give you one chance to explain this. Who are you to them exactly? He asks, not unkindly, almost gently. Because the Amelia Towns and I know, he lets the sentence hang. The silence is absolute. No one chews, no one breathes. Nora's eyes dart between me and her father. Bradley's wine glass is frozen halfway to his lips. Dennis looks up from his plate for the first time all evening. Patricia's smile is still fixed to her face, but it's cracking at the edges. A porcelain mask with a hairline fracture running straight down the middle. "Richard," she says carefully, "I think you might be confusing Amelia with someone. I'm not." His voice is gentle but final. The voice of a man who sustains objections for a living. I remember every attorney who argues before my bench, and Counselor Townsend argued 2 cases in my courtroom. She won both. The fracture splits open. Margaret's hand goes to her mouth. Nora turns to me, eyes wide. Bradley's glass finally makes it to the table with a hard clink. Dennis closes his eyes. And Patricia, my mother, the woman who built an entire evening around the premise that I am nobody, stares at Richard Calloway like the floor has just opened beneath her feet. The judge turns to me. "Counselor," he says, "would you like to clarify? Every eye in the room is on me. I don't want this. I want to be in my car driving east on I-66, windows down, this dinner shrinking in my rear view mirror. I didn't come here to make a scene. I came here for Bradley, but Richard Calloway just asked me a direct question. And I told my mother the one thing I wouldn't compromise on. I won't lie if someone asks me directly. It's true, I say. My voice is steady. I don't raise it. I'm a litigation attorney at Whitfield and Keene Federal Practice. I've had the privilege of arguing 2 cases before Judge Calloway's court. Nora's head whips toward Patricia. "Wait, you're a lawyer." Patricia's voice comes out thin, stretched. "Richard, I'm sure there are many Amelia Townsends." Patricia. Richard's tone carries 30 years of judicial authority. There are not many Amelia Townsends who won a civil rights case in the Eastern District 5 months ago. That oral argument was one of the finest I've heard from any attorney this decade. I shook her hand in the hallway afterward. Silence. Then Margaret quietly. "You told us she did office work." Patricia doesn't answer. Her mouth opens, then closes. Her eyes are glassy, not with tears, but with the frantic, cornered look of someone watching their construction collapse in real time. Bradley's face is cock white. He stares at me like I've betrayed him. Not Patricia, me. Because in his world, keeping the story alive is loyalty, and telling the truth is treason. "I didn't come here to make a scene," I say, "and I mean it. I came to celebrate your engagement, Brad. Your mother's fiancé's father recognized me. That's all that happened." Dennis from the end of the table whispers. "She's telling the truth. Nobody looks at him. Nobody ever does." Margaret Calloway sets down her napkin and folds her hands. When she speaks, her voice is calm, measured, and absolutely unforgiving. "Patricia, you told us your daughter works in office administration." Patricia grips the edge of the table. I didn't want Amelia to feel pressured to talk about her career. She's very private. That's not the same as lying about it. Nora's voice is quiet but firm. She's looking at Patricia the way you look at someone you're seeing for the first time. Not the image, but the machinery behind it. Bradley jumps in. "Look, can we just get back to dinner? This isn't about Amelia." Margaret turns to him slowly. "Actually, Bradley, it seems quite a lot has been about creating a particular picture this evening." The words land like stones dropped into still water. Ripple, ripple, ripple. Patricia pivots to tears. I've seen this before. The way she can switch from control to collapse, from commander to victim in the space of a single breath. Her chin trembles, her voice cracks. "I just wanted tonight to be perfect for me, son." Is that so wrong? Is it wrong for a mother to want the best for her child? Margaret doesn't blink. "Nobody's questioning your love for your son, Patricia. We're questioning why you felt the need to diminish your daughter to express it." Richard sits back down. He picks up his fork. Calm. Done. He's delivered the facts and retired from the bench, letting the evidence speak for itself. He catches my eye across the table and gives me the slightest nod. It's not congratulatory. It's not triumphant. It's the nod you give someone when the record has been set straight and you trust the truth to do the rest. Bradley shoves his chair back and turns on me. "Why couldn't you just keep quiet for one night, Amelia? One night. That's all I asked." I look at my little brother, the boy I taught to ride a bike, the boy I quizzed on spelling words the night before every test. The boy who is standing in our mother's dining room, furious at me for telling the truth when asked. "Brad, I was quiet all night. I sat where Mom told me to sit. I said what Mom told me to say. Judge Calloway asked me a direct question. I answered it honestly. You could have just said you work in an office. Nora cuts in soft but sharp. Bradley, are you asking your sister to lie? He stops, opens his mouth, closes it. Because if you are, Nora continues, I need to understand something. Did you know your mom lied about Amelia? The table waits. Even Patricia stops crying. Bradley swallows. It's just how Mommy's. She didn't mean anything by it. Nora stares at him. I watch something shift in her eyes. Not anger, not yet. But the first tremor of an earthquake that hasn't reached the surface. Patricia, sensing the ground tilting, reaches for Nora's hand. Sweetheart, I adore you. This was just a small misunderstanding. Patricia, Margaret's voice is a door closing. Let your son answer the question. Bradley looks at Nora, then at Patricia, then at me. He's searching for the script. The one Patricia always writes, the one that tells him exactly what to say to make everything smooth again. But there is no script for this. I didn't think it was a big deal, he says finally. Nora pulls her hand off the table. Nora's voice is careful now. The voice of someone putting pieces together and not liking the picture they're forming. Bradley, if your mom lied about Amelia's career, what about yours? The room constricts. What about mine? Bradley's voice pitches higher. I told you. Your mother introduced you as a regional sales director. Nora says each word distinctly. Is that your actual title? Patricia lunges forward. He's about to be promoted. It's practically official. Patricia. Richard raises one hand, not forceful, just enough. The voice of a man who silenced louder rooms. Let Bradley answer. Bradley stares at the tablecloth. A vein pulses at his temple. The entire room, his mother, his father, his sister, his fiancée, her parents, all waiting for one simple truth. Sales associate, he says, barely above a whisper. The silence that follows is different from the others. The first silence was shock. This one is something heavier. This is the sound of a foundation cracking. Nora closes her eyes, opens them, stands up. She doesn't slam her chair. She doesn't raise her voice. She places her napkin on the table with the careful precision of someone who knows that how you leave a room matters. I think I need some air, she says. Nora. Bradley reaches for her. Don't. One word. Quiet. Final. She walks toward the front door. Margaret stands, squeezes Richard's shoulder, and follows her daughter. And I sit at my corner seat watching the wreckage, and I feel something I didn't expect. Not satisfaction, not vindication, grief, because this was never about me being right. This was about my mother being so afraid of the truth that she built an entire castle out of lies. And tonight, a judge asked one simple question and the whole thing came down. Patricia stands. The tears are flowing freely now. The real ones mixed with the performance. Impossible to separate. I did this for Bradley. Her voice breaks. Everything I did was for this family. I wanted us to look our best. I wanted Richard and Margaret to see that we're good people, that we're enough. She points at me, her hand shakes. And you always have to ruin it. You always have to be the center of attention. Even tonight, even when I begged you, Mom. My voice is quiet level, the voice I use in courtrooms when opposing counsel is shouting. It didn't ruin anything. I sat where you told me to sit. I said what you told me to say. I was introduced as an office worker and I didn't correct it. Judge Calloway recognized me because I stood in his courtroom 5 months ago and did my job. That's not something I did to you. That's something that happened. But you could have what? Lied to a federal judge about my identity in his presence. She has no answer for that. The logic is airtight and she knows it. Dennis stands. Everyone looks at him, perhaps for the first time all evening. His voice is rusty from disuse. Patricia, maybe we should just be quiet, Dennis. He sits back down, ruffles his napkin, disappears again. Richard hasn't moved. He sits with his hands folded, watching with the patient, impassive expression of a man who has watched people unravel on witness stands for 3 decades. He doesn't intervene. The evidence has been entered. The testimony has been given. The verdict is writing itself. I look at my mother and I see Benioff fury beneath the tears, pure, undiluted fear. She's not angry at me. She's terrified of being known. Margaret returns from the front porch alone. Nora is outside. The sound of a car door opening drifts through the screen. Margaret walks to the table. She doesn't sit. She stands, hands resting on the back of her chair, and she addresses Patricia with the quiet authority of a woman who has spent 40 years married to a federal judge and knows exactly how to separate fact from theater. Patricia, I want to make sure I understand. You told us your daughter works in office administration. In reality, she's a federal litigation attorney at a prominent D.C. firm. You told us your son is a regional sales director. In reality, he's a sales associate. And you instructed your daughter to remain silent about her career at a dinner specifically arranged to introduce our families to one another. Patricia opens her mouth. Nothing comes out. Is there anything else? Margaret continues that we should know about. The question hangs heavy. Final. Patricia shakes her head a small defeated motion. Richard stands, buttons his jacket. It's been an evening, he says. No malice, no sarcasm, just the weary precision of a man who has heard enough. Thank you for dinner, Patricia. Dennis. He extends his hand to Dennis. Dennis shakes it, eyes down. Then Richard turns to me. He crosses the dining room, stops in front of my corner chair, and extends his hand. Counselor Townsend, it was good to see you. I stand, shake his hand. Thank you, Judge Calloway. We should get Nora, Margaret says. They move toward the door. Nora is already in the backseat of their car, staring straight ahead. Bradley stands frozen in the middle of the dining room. He looks at the empty chairs, the unfinished plates, the flowers that still smell expensive, and the evening his mother built, now in pieces on the white linen tablecloth. I stand up, fold my napkin, place it beside my plate neatly because how you leave a room matters. I look at Patricia. She's sitting at the head of the table, makeup stree, hands flat on the linen like she's trying to hold the surface of the world together. Mom, my voice doesn't shake. I love you. I've always loved you. But tonight is the last time I will sit at a table where I have to pretend to be someone else. She flinches like I've hit her. But I haven't raised my voice. I haven't raised my hand. I've only said what is true. I'm not ashamed of who I am. I continue. I won't be ashamed. And I won't come to any gathering where you need me to be smaller so that someone else can look bigger. That's not love. That's control. And I'm done participating in it. I turn to Bradley. He's standing by his chair, arms hanging, lost. Brad, congratulations on your engagement. I mean that. I hope you and Nora figure things out. But if you want me in your life, you need to call me yourself. Not through Mom, not on her terms, yours. He doesn't respond. His jaw works, but no sound comes out. I turn toward the Callies who are standing near the front door. Richard, Margaret, I apologize for the disruption tonight. It was genuinely wonderful to see you. Margaret reaches out and squeezes my arm. No apology needed, Amelia. Richard nods. Take care, counselor. I grab my blazer from the hall closet, the navy one I chose this morning without knowing why. Now I know. I walk out the front door. It closes behind me softly. Not a slam, just the quiet, certain sound of someone leaving on her own terms. I'm 3 steps down the porch when I hear it. Or rather, don't hear it. No footsteps behind me. No one calling my name. The porch light casts my shadow long across the walkway, and I'm the only shadow there. Inside, I imagine the scene I'm leaving behind. The half-eaten salmon cooling on the good china. The crystal vase with its expensive flowers. Patricia alone at the head of a table set for 8. Mascara tracing dark lines down her cheeks. I hear voices through the window, muffled but distinct. Nora's car door closes. Bradley's voice. Nora, please just let me explain. Nora's voice measured and final. Bradley, you sat there all night and let your mother lie. About your sister. About you. I need time. An engine starts. Headlights sweep across the lawn. As the Calloway's car pulls out of the driveway, Nora is in the back seat. She doesn't wave. Bradley stands on the porch behind me. I hear him, but I don't turn around. I walk to my car, keys already in my hand. Amelia. His voice cracks. You know what you just did, right? I open my car door, turn to face him. My little brother, standing under the porch light in his khaki pants and polo shirt, looking smaller than I've ever seen him. I answered a question. Honestly, Brad, that's all I did. He goes back inside. The screen door claps shut. I sit in the driver's seat. Key in the ignition, hands on the wheel at 10 and 2. My reflection stares back at me from the dark windshield, composed, still, steady. Then the engine hums to life and I pull out of the driveway. And for the first time in 34 years, I am not driving away feeling small. I just walked out of my mother's house for the first time with my head held high. But the story doesn't end there because the next few days, that's when the real consequences hit. Before I tell you what happened, if you know someone who needs to hear this story tonight, share it with them. And if you've ever had to walk away from a table where you weren't allowed to be yourself, type "I walked away too" in the comments. Now let me tell you what happened when I checked my phone the next morning. The highway is empty at this hour. Just me and the white lines and 2 hours of Virginia darkness stretching ahead. My hands tremble on the wheel. Not fear, adrenaline. The kind that hits after you've been calm for so long that your body forgot it was supposed to be shaking. I don't turn on the radio. I don't call anyone. I just drive. Past the horse farms, past the strip malls, past the exit where I always think about turning around. And tonight, I don't even glance at it. Somewhere near Manassas, the tears come. Not the dramatic kind, just a quiet leaking that blurs the road for a few seconds until I blink it clear. I'm not crying because they hurt me. I'm crying because tonight I finally stopped pretending it doesn't. I think about the dinner I wanted. A normal evening, a plate of food and a glass of wine, and a conversation where someone asks about my life and actually listens. I think about sitting next to my brother, clinking glasses, saying congratulations and meaning it. I think about my mother introducing me just once, just one time with something other than a footnote. But that dinner doesn't exist. It never existed because Patricia wasn't hosting a family meal tonight. She was staging a performance and I was cast as an extra in my own family story. I pull into my apartment complex in Arlington a few minutes after 11. Cut the engine, sit in the dark parking garage, and breathe. My phone is on the passenger seat. I haven't looked at it since Ridgemont. The screen glows with notifications. 14 unread messages. I pick it up, stare at the number. 14. I set it face down and go inside. The messages can wait until morning. Tonight I'm going to sleep in a room where nobody needs me to be quiet. Saturday morning, coffee, sunlight through the kitchen window. I sit at my counter and open the phone. Patricia, 3 messages. The first sent at 9:47 p.m. You ruined everything tonight. The second 10:22 p.m. Nora want return Bradley's calls. The third 11:08 p.m. I hope you're happy. I read them twice. Set the phone down. Pick up my coffee. Bradley, 4 messages. Thanks a lot, Amelia. Nora wants to talk. She's upset. Mom is devastated. She hasn't stopped crying. And the last one sent at midnight. You could have just stayed quiet. I stare at that last message for a long time. You could have just stayed quiet. The family motto, the Townsend creed, stay quiet, stay small, stay out of the way. The cost off belonging is disappearing. And the price of showing up is being told you took up too much space. Dennis. 1 message sent at 6:14. My father awake at dawn, typing what he couldn't say in 34 years of silence. I'm sorry, Amelia. 3 words more than he's given me in a decade. Then a number I don't recognize. Area code 804, Richmond. Amelia, this is Nora. I'm so sorry about last night. I had no idea. Would you be open to getting coffee this week? I'd really like to talk. And one more from a number Margaret Calloway left with Nora to pass along. Dear Amelia, your composure last night was remarkable. Richard and I would be happy to have you for dinner sometime. Just you warmly, Margaret. I set the phone down. Sit in my quiet kitchen, sunlight on the counter, coffee cooling in my hands, 14 messages, 2 families worth of fallout and somewhere in the wreckage. 2 women I barely know who saw me more clearly in one evening than my own mother has in 34 years. Tuesday afternoon, a cafe in Georgetown. Brick walls, exposed beams, the hiss of an espresso machine. Nora is already at a corner table when I arrive. Her eyes are rimmed red. She hasn't been sleeping. Thank you for meeting me, she says, of course. She wraps both hands around her mug like she's holding it for warmth, even though it's June. I need to tell you something, and I need you to hear it from me. I wait. Your mother told my parents before the dinner months ago that you weren't close with the family. She implied," Nora pauses, chooses her words carefully. She implied you had personal issues. She never used the word unstable, but she circled close enough that my father got the impression you were someone to be careful around. The words land quietly. I absorb them. That's why Dad was so surprised to see you at the table. Nora continues. He was expecting someone fragile. Instead, he saw someone he'd personally complimented in his own courtroom. I nod slowly. I didn't know she said that. I figured. Nora looks down at her coffee, and there's more. Bradley knew about all of it. The job title, the thing she told my parents about you. He admitted it after you left. He said, her voice tightens, "It's just how Mom is. The most dangerous sentence in any family. It's just how they are." The universal permission slip for terrible behavior signed in the name of love. Nora, I hope you don't think any of this is your fault. She shakes her head. No, but I am reevaluating a lot of things. She looks up at me. How do you separate the man from his mother? I hold her gaze. That's the question, isn't it? Nora sets her mug down. Amelia, be honest with me. Is Bradley a good person, not the version his mother sells, the real one? I lean back. This is the question I've been waiting for. The one that lives in the space between loyalty and truth. I've been trained to answer difficult questions for a living, but this one lands differently when the witness stand is a cafe table and the jury is your brother's fiancé. I take my time. Brad isn't cruel, I say. He's never been cruel. He was a sweet kid. He used to draw me birthday cards with crayons, dinosaurs mostly, because he knew I liked them. Nora's eyes soften. But he's passive, I continue. He grew up in a house where Mom controlled the story, and he learned early that the easiest role was the one she wrote for him. The golden son, the agreeable one. He never had to fight for anything because Patricia fought for him, and fighting meant lying. And lying meant everyone else had to shrink. I pause, breathe. He's not a bad person, Nora, but passivity in the face of lies isn't loyalty, it's participation. And you deserve someone who chooses you, not someone who lets his mother choose for him. Nora's eyes fill. She blinks hard. Thank you for telling me the truth. It's the only thing I know how to do anymore. She almost laughs. Almost. One more thing. Your mother called me this morning. She said, this whole situation is your fault, that you've always been jealous of Bradley. I smile, not bitterly, just the tired smile of someone who's heard every version of the same lie. Yeah, I say she would say that. We finish our coffee, she hugs me at the door, tight, real. 1 week after the dinner, Sunday evening, I pick up my phone and dial Patricia. She answers on the first ring. Amelia, you're calling to apologize. No, Mom, I'm calling to tell you what's going to change. Silence. The television murmurs in the background. Dennis is probably in his recliner. The house probably looks exactly the same. The same mantle, the same 5 photos of Bradley, the same single photo of me hidden behind the vase. I will not come to any family event where I'm asked to hide who I am. I say I will not answer calls at 2 in the morning telling me to keep my mouth shut. I will not introduce myself as someone I'm not to make you comfortable. You're punishing me. I'm protecting myself. Those are 2 different things. Amelia, I'm your mother. I know and I love you. I've always loved you. But I love who I am more than the version of me you need me to be. And I can't keep choosing your comfort over my existence. I hear her breathing, ragged, fighting. I will always pick up the phone when you call, I say. But the conversation has to be real. No scripts, no roles, no pretending I'm less than I am so Bradley can be more. If that's something you can do, then I'm here. If it's not, then I'll still love you, Mom, but I'll love you from a distance. She's crying. I'm crying too. Quietly, the kind that doesn't make sound but burns all the way down. I just wanted Bradley to have a good life, she whispers. I know, but not at the cost of mine. I let the silence sit. Then, good night, Mom. I hang up, set the phone face down, exhale. The room is quiet, and for once the quiet feels like mine. 3 months pass. Here's what happens. Nora postpones the engagement. Not a breakup, a pause. She tells Bradley she needs to see who he is without his mother's script. She asks him to start therapy. To her surprise and mine, he agrees. Bradley calls me on a Tuesday in September. First time he's ever called without Patricia prompting it. The conversation is short, awkward, full of long pauses. He doesn't apologize, but he says, I'm seeing someone, a therapist. She's making me look at stuff I don't want to look at. And then, I didn't know Mom told Nora's parents you had issues. I swear I didn't know that part. I believe him about that part. Patricia goes quiet. 6 weeks of nothing. No calls, no texts, no passive-aggressive group messages. For the first time in my life, the silence from Ridgemont is voluntary and it's not mine, it's hers. Then a text short, no punctuation, no guilt trip, just I miss you. I write back, I miss you too, but I need you to respect what I asked for. She doesn't reply. Not yet. Dennis calls. I nearly drop the phone when I see his name on the screen. He's called me maybe 5 times in a decade. His voice is rough, uncertain, like a man speaking a language he once knew but has mostly forgotten. I should have said something a long time ago, he says at that dinner and at every dinner before it. Yeah, Dad, you should have. I'm sorry, Amelia. Thank you. We talk for 4 more minutes about nothing. The weather, the Aylas in the yard, a bird that keeps hitting the kitchen window. It's small, but it's the first time he's called me just to hear my voice. It's a start. October. My phone rings on a Saturday afternoon. The caller ID reads Margaret Calloway. Amelia, I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time. Not at all. Richard and I would love to have you for dinner next weekend. Nothing formal, just good food and good company. Nora will be there. I hesitate. Margaret, I don't want to complicate things for Nora and Bradley. Sweetheart, this invitation is for you. It has nothing to do with Bradley. I accept. And the following Saturday, I drive 30 minutes to the Calloway home in Emlan, a warm colonial with a wide porch and a kitchen that smells like roasted garlic and fresh bread. No place cards, no scripts, no assigned seating. Richard pours wine and asks about my caseload. Margaret asks about my apartment, my neighborhood, whether I found a good dry cleaner yet. Nora tells me Bradley is making progress in therapy slowly, but he's showing up. He called me last week, I say, on his own. Nora smiles. I know, he told me. We eat at a round table. No head seat, no corners. Margaret passes me the bread basket and says something so simple it nearly undoes me. Amelia, in this house, you never have to be anyone but yourself. I look down at my plate, blink hard, breathe. I've argued before federal judges. I've won cases that changed people's lives. I've held steady under cross-examination and hostile courtrooms and 2 in the morning phone calls designed to make me small. But one kind sentence at a dinner table where I don't have to disappear. That's the thing that cracks me open. Thank you, I say. And I mean it more than I've ever meant those 2 words. I drive home from the Calais with the windows down. October air, cool and sharp, smelling like fallen leaves and wood smoke. The radio is on, something soft, something I don't need to think about. I just let the highway carry me. For 34 years, I thought family meant endurance. I thought love meant contortion. Folding yourself into whatever shape the people around you needed, even if the shape was so small you couldn't breathe. I thought if I showed up enough times, if I swallowed enough words, if I was patient and quiet and good, eventually my mother would see me, the real me. Not the version she needed me to be. But tonight, I sat at a different table. A table where nobody asked me to shrink, where nobody changed the subject when I spoke, where a woman I barely know handed me a bread basket and told me I was enough. And I realized that's what I was looking for all along. Not applause, not recognition, not a trophy or a speech, just a seat at Aidable where I can be myself without apology. Setting a boundary isn't leaving. It's not cruelty. It's not punishment. It's saying, I'm still here. I'm still showing up, but I will no longer disappear so you can be comfortable. The highway hums beneath me. The lights of Arlington glow on the horizon. My phone is quiet in my pocket, not because no one cares, but because the people who care are the right ones. Now I pull into my parking garage, cut the engine, sit in the silence. But for once, the silence isn't absence. It's not the silence of being erased or talked over or hidden behind a vase on a mantle. This silence is rest, and it's mine. A Tuesday in November. I'm at my desk reviewing deposition transcripts when my phone buzzes. I glance at the screen. Mom. I stare at it through 2 rings. 3. My thumb hovers. I pick up. Mom. A pause long enough that I check to see if the call dropped. Then Patricia's voice smaller than I've ever heard it, stripped of its usual polish and command. like someone who's been rehearsing a sentence for weeks and is terrified of getting it wrong. I want to hear about your work, she says. If you want to tell me, I close my eyes, lean back in my chair, feel the weight of every unanswered question, every redirected conversation, every Sunday phone call where she changed the subject before I could finish a sentence. Do you mean that? I ask. I'm trying, Amelia. 4 words, fragile as glass. Okay, I say, I'm working on a new case, employment discrimination. The hearing is in 2 weeks. Is it in front of the same judge? The one from the dinner? No, different judge this time. Oh, a beat. Are you ready? It's such a small question. A normal question. The kind of question mothers ask their daughters 1,000 times about tests and job interviews and first dates and court hearings. And Patricia is asking it for the first time in my adult life. I'm getting there, I say. Okay. Well, I'm sure you'll do well. No redirection to Bradley, no change of subject, no footnote, just my mother on the other end of the phone listening. Thanks, Mom. Amelia. Yeah, I don't know how to do this yet, but I want to learn. I press my palm against my eyes. That's enough for now. So here's what I want to leave you with. If you're sitting at a table, any table, holiday dinners, Sunday brunches, family group chats, where the price of admission is making yourself smaller, I want you to know you don't have to pay it. The truth isn't revenge. The truth is a foundation. And if someone in your life needs you to lie about who you are so they can feel comfortable, that's not love. That's control. And the moment you stop participating in it, you'll find out very quickly who loves you and who loves the version of you they built. I didn't lose my mother that night at the dinner table. I lost the performance. I lost the role I'd been playing for 34 years. The quiet daughter, the invisible sister, the woman who drives 2 hours to sit in a corner and say nothing. And I don't miss her. That version of me, I don't miss her at all. My business card still sits on my desk. Amelia Townsend, Associate, Whitfield, and Keene LLP. But for the first time, I don't need someone to read it to know who I am. I know who I am. I've always known. It just took one honest answer at one dinner table for the rest of the world to find out. Patricia and I are talking carefully, slowly, like 2 people learning a language neither of us has spoken. The language of truth without performance. I don't know if she'll get there, but she asked. And that's something. Boundaries aren't walls, they're doors, and I hold the key. Thank you for being here tonight. If this story meant something to you, I need your help. Hit subscribe so I know you're out there. And I have a question. If you could say one sentence to the person who tried to make you small, what would it be? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. And if you want more stories like this, check the description. There's one about a woman whose family didn't invite her to the wedding until the bride found out why. I'll see you there.